We've got some last-minute Falcons draft rumors to talk about on today's show because two of the brighter minds in Bristol, Connecticut think that Michael Penix could go as early as pick number 8 to Atlanta. So we'll break down what they said and talk about this as a possibility. But first, I just want to share some quick news that dropped yesterday after we released our video, which was Matt Ryan, Falcons legend, the greatest player in franchise history, retired as a Falcon yesterday. So what is your favorite Matt Ryan Falcons moment? I was talking to a friend about this, and he brought up a great one that I had not thought of, which was in 2016, when Atlanta got the ball to start the game, they scored 5 out of 7 times right off the bat. I mean, just a well-oiled machine. Personally, I would go with the Falcons taking down the Packers to go to the Super Bowl. But let me know what your favorite Matt Ryan Falcons moment is in the comment section. Now let's get back to Michael Penix potentially being an Atlanta Falcon as early as pick number 8. So I want to share with you guys what Jeremy Fowler said on SportsCenter. The Falcons are certainly a candidate to get a passer at some point in the draft. They spent some time with Michael Penix Jr. when they went to visit him in Seattle for a private workout in early April. The whole contingent went. The head coach Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot, they flew all the way to Seattle just to watch him throw for a few hours and turned around and went home. They didn't do dinner or stay the night or anything. That told me something as far as interest. And I agree with what Fowler kind of alludes to at the end of his little spiel on SportsCenter, which is this was a pick 43 scouting mission. I don't think Atlanta would go all the way to Seattle, watch him throw, and not get to know him a little bit more as a person, and then use the 8th overall pick on him. I think Atlanta wanted to see, could this be an all-time gem we get in day 2 of the draft that takes over from Kirk Cousins in a few years? But I don't think this is actually in play for pick number 8. Now, Adam Schefter says, hold your horses, Petey. He said in a recent article, one NFL general manager said he believes there is an undercurrent of support for Michael Penix and Bo Nix, even though his team doesn't have a first-round grade on either. This particular general manager said he believes both Penix and Nix are day 2 picks. Some teams disagree, and there is now speculation Penix could go as high as number 8 to the Falcons. I like Michael Penix a lot, but you cannot go Penix at pick number 8. And this isn't even me coming after Penix as a passer or a prospect. It's just simply not a good time to go take a quarterback with the 8th overall pick when you just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract. You need to go all in on Kirk Cousins, not start preparing a backdoor to move on from Kirk Cousins. If you did not believe in Kirk Cousins could get you to the promised land in the next 2 to 3 seasons, then why would you give him that monster contract? You need to invest in Kirk Cousins. Get him players to throw to, players that can protect him, players on the defensive side of the football that can maintain a lead. How many times last year did we see teams drive down on the Falcons defense in the 4th quarter and put up a go-ahead touchdown or field goal? Cardinals game, Vikings game, happened over and over again. Kirk Cousins can put up points, but you're also going to need a defense that can stop opposing offenses. To me, it's just so backwards to go give Kirk Cousins a monster contract, sell him on the fact that he can retire a Falcon, and then a few months later, go take a quarterback in the top 10? Michael Penix could be a really good quarterback, and I can understand the argument of you're thinking down the line post-Kirk Cousins. But I don't think 2024 is the year to do that. When Kirk Cousins has 1-2 years left on his contract, sure, we can entertain that option, absolutely. But we're not at that stage yet. You just signed Kirk Cousins to a big deal to try and get this franchise back in relevancy. Don't diminish those efforts by taking a guy that's going to sit on the bench when you can get an impact player at pick number 8. I just think the timing is awful to go quarterback when you just signed Cousins. Now, we've got more to share on this right here, but quick self-plug here because my boss was talking to me about round 2 of the NFL draft, And he said if we can reach 21,100 subscribers, we can start round 2 of the draft live here on the channel for pick 43. Fingers crossed they don't lose it. So we're 50 subs away from reaching 21.1 thousand subscribers. Help us grow, and we get to go live for round 2 in addition to round 1 of the upcoming NFL draft. Now, if I had my pick, here is my big board for the Falcons at pick number 8. If Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors are there, I think it's just too tough to pass on, but I'm sure Atlanta's going to want to favor the defense with Raheem Morris. But I am more confident in those 2 wide receivers panning out than anyone on the defensive side of the football in this draft, essentially. Now, I'm going to put Dallas Turner at 3rd on this big board. That's really weighing in positional need. I like Terrion Arnold more, and if I had to pick one guy to make more Pro Bowls in the NFL, it may be Arnold, but Atlanta just needs pass rushing help. And then Jared Verse slots in at number 5. I think he's excellent in run support. I think he's a very even-keeled player. I think there are some good upsides to his game, but I think the physical traits with Turner and the production of 10 sacks last year at Alabama just move him up a few slots higher. But this is not the year to go quarterback in rounds 1, or I'll even say round 2. And I get it. This is not me saying Penix is a bad quarterback. Don't take him because he sucks. In fact, I'm probably one of the bigger Penix supporters and believers and truthers out there. But once again, I just go back to the timing of Kirk Cousins, 4-year contract. 3 of those years are guaranteed. 2, you're not like Kirk Cousins is here for 2024 and 2025 at the very least. Probably beyond 2025 into 2026, but that's a long ways down the road. So you're going to draft a 24-year-old quarterback that's guaranteed to sit 2024 and 2025 as long as Cousins doesn't completely fall off the face of the earth, which the way he's played the last few seasons seems highly unlikely. I'm not even an ageist here. It's not about Penix can't be good when he's older. We see a lot of quarterbacks play some of their best football, like Kirk Cousins is doing right now, as they get older. But you really want to roll the dice on like turning things over to Michael Penix when he's 27, 28 years old. And then let's say it takes him a few years to kind of get into the swing of things. You've already burned up half of his rookie contract. Now you're in a difficult position where he's pushing 27 years old and his contract's expiring soon. Do you want to bring him back? It's a little bit like Daniel Jones where, not actually like Daniel Jones at all, but the point is like you could find yourself in a tough spot where he's getting older. You don't really have a whole lot of information on him because maybe it's just a 1 or 2 year starting stint. And you've already got to make a decision as to whether or not you want to pay him or you want to move on. If you get a quarterback 2 years from now and he only sits for a season, maybe 2, that gives you a lot more runway to figure out whether or not that quarterback is your guy before he's already getting up there in the age column. So I'll turn it over to you. Would you take Penix at 8? I am passing. I just think that, like, for example, people are going to reference Jordan Love with the Packers. Let me ask you an honest question. If the Packers knew that the player they could get when they selected Jordan Love, I think at pick 26, could have helped them win one last Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, would they have still picked Jordan Love? Sure, Jordan Love could be a really good quarterback for them the next 10 years. But they may have gotten an impact player at 26 that could have helped Rodgers in that current roster get over the hump. I think Atlanta, sure, they're not as surefire as the Packers were back then, but I think this is the time to strike and go get a guy that can help this current roster go win playoff games. And I don't see Penix helping them in any way, shape, or form for the next 2 or 3 seasons. Now, like I said, I do like Penix. Like, I think Penix is better than Bo Nix. I like Penix more than J.J. McCarthy. Hot take right there. I don't know how anyone comes out of college football last year thinking J.J. McCarthy, who threw 10 to 15 passes in the biggest games of his career, is a more surefire thing than Michael Penix, who was spraying the ball all over the field. Now, there are some concerns, right? The age factor. He's going to turn 24 next month. He has suffered 4 major injuries in his collegiate career. 2 torn ACLs, 2 shoulder and season-ending injuries. But the medicals out of the combine were he checked out. He was healthy the last 2 seasons in Washington. Didn't miss a game for the Huskies. Taysom Hill was super banged up at college, and now he's been nothing but pretty healthy for the New Orleans Saints. So there are examples of this. He's also the most aggressive quarterback, I'd say, in this draft class. Like, if you need a QB who is the most confident in chucking the ball down the field, Penix is your guy. And he does it with pretty good accuracy as well. Now, he has some mechanics he needs to work on, and he has some progressions he has to work on reading the NFL defenses. But if you're looking for a gunslinger and a guy that's not afraid to push the ball down the field, he's your man. And before we get on to the rest of today's video, quick shout out to our sponsor today, GameTime. Baseball is here, which means spring is here, which means we have baseball to watch. We have playoff basketball and hockey. So I don't want you guys to miss any of the action because of ticket prices. With GameTime, you can get killer last-minute deals and all-in prices for all the big events. I love that GameTime gives you a view from your seat before you purchase your tickets, so there are no surprises when you show up. Plus, if you download the GameTime app today and use code CHATSPORTS, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Now, like I was saying, it's the best place to get the lowest price guaranteed. They're going to have flash deals and zone deals for specific sections you may be looking to sit in. So it's the best place to find last-minute seats. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. I look at it as GameTime's going to get your parking. They're going to take care of your first concession run. Whatever it may be, $20 off, GameTime will take care of that for you. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Now, there is a growing elephant in the room we have to address, which is the latest on the Kirk Cousins tampering. And there are a wide array of possible punishments that could be coming down to Atlanta. Some have speculated it could be as simple as the Falcons and the Vikings swap picks 8 and 11. Some think it could be all the way from 8 to 23, Minnesota's second selection. Something it could be the Falcons drop to the end of round 1. Something it could be a future second-round pick. It is all over the place. Last year, the NFL dealt with Jonathan Gannon's tampering by dealing a third-round pick swap the day of the NFL draft between Philly and Arizona. People in the comment section are saying I've been watering this down too much and you can't compare Kirk Cousins to a coach. A head coach is a pretty big deal too. So if a head coach gets in trouble for or a phone call and that punishment is a third-round pick swap, if all Kirk Cousins is guilty of is showing up to the facility a day early, I don't think it's going to be a catastrophic punishment. Now, if there's a lot more to this that we don't know, then yeah, that's going to change things. But as of now, I'm going off of Kirk Cousins' slip of the tongue in the press conference where he said, I met with the trainer yesterday. I talked to him yesterday. You couldn't have met with him yesterday. That'd be a violation. If he truly just came a few hours early, I don't think the NFL is going to completely throw the book at the Falcons. But if Kirk Cousins was there as soon as February, yeah, that's going to dramatically change things. So Atlanta's definitely got to wait and see what's going to happen to them. And if they lose their 8th overall pick, that's going to alter their draft plan, of course. But I think, and I don't think 3 weeks ago, previous PD would have agreed with this at all, but swapping picks 8 and 11 with the Vikings, that may be the ideal outcome. And part of me just gets, up in arms about this because Florio came at this from an angle of what's best for my fandom, the Minnesota Vikings, not what's fair for the NFL. But if the NFL is going to say, listen, you can either swap picks with the Vikings 8 and 11, or we're going to take away one of your 2 third-round picks, I'd probably prefer the swapping of 8 and 11 because you got to think, who does Atlanta want to get at pick number 8? All signs point to Dallas Turner. Well, I don't think he's going to go to the Bears at number 9. He may. The Bears desperately need pass rushing help, but I don't think so. I think they'd rather go with Rome Odunze for Caleb Williams. The Jets are not going to go defensive line. They have done that year after year in the draft. Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. Time for them to help out Aaron Rodgers. And all of a sudden, Atlanta's back on the clock at 11, and they can get Dallas Turner and still have both of their third-round picks. So to me, I think swapping 8 and 11, despite the maybe mean things I said to Florio a few weeks ago about this, hand up, I'll say, I'm sorry. I'm not on screen right now, but my hand is up and say, I'm sorry. If that is the ultimate punishment, I think that's something we could all live with here. Now, let's kind of wrap up the show by running through just some general NFL draft rumors, just to broaden your horizon since, the NFL draft is 2 days from today. All signs are pointing to Jaden Daniels going number 2. Some think Jaden Daniels is very close to Caleb Williams, and he's closer to Williams than he is to Drake May. So the only wrench here could be if Daniels throws a hissy fit and Eli Manning doesn't want to go to Washington. But my suspicion is this will be the pick for the Commanders. So then that means the draft really starts at New England at pick number 3. And I think the Patriots are not going to make any moves until they know the selection that Washington makes. Because if they really like Daniels, they're not going to trade out of this pick until they know Daniels is no longer available. And in that case, they have to make a decision. Do they like Drake May, or do they like what the Minnesota Vikings can offer for the 3rd overall pick more? That's something that the Patriots are just simply going to have to wait and see, and it's likely not going to happen until the middle of the draft, the middle of the pick. The Cardinals, by the way, they have said pick number 4 is open. I put parentheses next to New England because it's open unless their favorite guy is there. For the Cardinals, it's definitely open. They were wheeling and dealing last year in the draft, and if a team makes them an offer that it's not even they can't refuse, but a fair offer, I think they would be comfortable with taking more 1st and 2nd round picks like they did from Houston last year, moving back some slots, and then potentially moving back up, which they did last year, and still getting one of the top 3 wide receivers in MHJ, Rome Odunze, or Malik Neighbors. I believe the Chargers are going to trade back, and this may not even be driven by a quarterback, but I just think that if you think about what Jim Harbaugh did with the Michigan Wolverines, the way he found success was building in the trenches. And there's a lot of really good offensive linemen in this draft class. And he needs some draft capital. Because this is not going to be a simple, one player inserted, we're ready to roll. They lost both of their wide receivers via trade and free or cap casualty. So they may look to get an extra 2nd or 3rd round pick to replace those wide receivers if they want to go offensive line, which I think they will in round number 1. Next one up. The Bears appear to be open to trading back at number 9. They only have 4 picks in the upcoming draft. 2 of them are in the top 10. And then they got a 3rd and a 4th. And then they're done. So they have made a lot of picks over the last few years. They've stockpiled a lot of draft ammunition. So it may not be the worst thing in the world for them to be on the lighter side, which is the fewest amount of picks for any team in this year's draft. But they may look to trade back from 9 and try and acquire an extra 2nd or early day 3 pick. If you're looking at teams that could be trading up to number 9, the Philadelphia Eagles, Howie Roseman, he never likes staying still. I mean, he is the ADHD kid in your class that just cannot sit still for 2 minutes. Come draft day, he wants to go up and down nonstop. So I wouldn't be surprised if he feels like he is a team that's, and they are, kind of one piece away in their mind of getting another DB, and maybe they want to get the best DB in the draft, so they move up to number 9 with the Bears. I've also heard some buzz about the Jags wanting to trade up. They lost Calvin Ridley to the Titans in free agency. They may not want to sit still and see who comes to them. They may want to take the battle to the draft and try and move up and secure their guy and their number 1 receiver on their board. And then finally, Byron Murphy's stock is rising. Some people think he could be the first defensive player taken in this year's draft that has long been pegged as Dallas Turner to the Atlanta Falcons at number 8. But we kind of saw this a few years ago. Like, Aiden Hutchinson was the presumed first overall pick until the combine. And then Trayvon Walker's stock dramatically rose, and he ended up being the first overall pick in the draft. So I would not be shell-shocked if Murphy is the first player taken. I have my concerns. He's not that big. He's 6 foot, sub 300 pounds. He's a 1-year starter at Texas. He's got really good athletic traits, and he had good production in that one season. But to me, I think that's too big of a gamble to be the first defensive player taken when I think there are much more surefire things. But it's hard to find interior defensive linemen that can get after the quarterback. So with that being said, drop a bold NFL draft take. The bolder, the better. Don't be afraid. We'll circle back to this next week, and we'll see if anyone got correct bold take. For me, I've got 3 for you. I don't think Bo Nix or Michael Penix go round 1. I think both players are going to be on our thumbnail for round 2 coverage of the NFL draft. I don't think any running back goes until round 3. Maybe Jonathan Brooks to the Cowboys in round 2. But this running back class, they all have some fair question marks next to them. Finally, I think the Rams are going to trade up for an offensive lineman. They're back in the first round for the first time since 2016. The word on the street is they want to go O-line, and there's a lot of really good offensive linemen in this class, but there's also a lot of teams right in front of LA that are looking to get offensive linemen. So I would not be surprised if they jump up 7, 8, 9, 10 spots to go get their number one offensive lineman. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I always appreciate those of you that watch all the way to the end of the video. So you know the drill, and I'll see you all later.